Hello there and welcome to the new channel.
Here to help you see
The new you.
My name is Carmine Ortega.
Dennis Calamba.
This is Nato Agbayani.
My name is Juan Lu.
I'm Chino.
I'm Trisha.
This is Apple Manansala.
This is Attorney Carlo Ibanez.
This is Attorney Sheila Santiago.
This is Angie.
This is Argamit.
My name is Dante Salama.
This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo.
I'm Dani Acuña.
Mon Mendoza.
I am Muppet Regina.
I'm Leo Bryan. Mike.
Nice one, dear.
Sir Al Ian Barcelona.
Marvin Salazar. This is Sunny Haldons.
Heidi Lumainos.
This is Ivan Jude.
Patrick Geronimo.
Alan Perez.
My name is Erwin Ursua.
Mine is Bob.
My name is Lloyd Luna and this is
Future.
The Talk.
Family Business.
The Puppet Stories.
After Shift.
PNC Town Hall.
YOLO.
Marketplace.
The Home Buyer.
HR Hotline.
Danny Art Show.
Hotline.
Foreign Affairs.
COVID Stories.
Awesome Day Show.
Thank you.
Money and More.
Cybernext.
Women at Work.
Win Within.
Port Project.
The Big Picture.
Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC ignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you. Sometimes life makes you blind and you choose something bad. You just wanna cry and hide and save your face from the crowd. But sometimes life makes you see the beauty in you and me. When you look up above, there is God and there is love. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC ignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new. We're here to help you see the newness of life. We're here to help you feel your hope is so real. You got the power to see. We'll help you see the new you. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the new channel, here to help you see the new you. Happy Easter. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, your host to this wonderful program, the HR Hotline. It's a wonderful day, and the sun is up, although even myself, I am scared, really scared, because actually the pandemic is doubling its time. That we have to follow the protocols and we have to pray. All of this will pass. As in the prayer, only God suffices. So it is a reminder for us to be still, take a pause, continue life, but appreciate the little things in life that are essential. I took a pause because HR now is most needed. Everybody is banking on HR. Management consults HR nowadays. The Baldridge, what do you call this, balance scorecard affirms that yes, it should be people first before you can have your operations, then your marketing, and your finance. But since we are the most essential now and the most needed, what are those things that we should be knowledgeable? Now that management and everybody consults us, it will be a disservice if you are not going to give them a well-researched and thought-of advice. So actually, as leaders, as human resource practitioner and professionals, or everybody in the people management, must be aware that we have to be competent, that we must have that competence on communication, that what we advise, what comes out from our communication should be evidence-based, should be research. So what are these things that HR people should be knowledgeable now? This is serious. I have group chats, and these are my students in PIMA and ECO. And then sometimes I read what they are asking each other. Just imagine up to now, they're asking on what is the vaccine that they must purchase. And there is even one, Efel, I will mention her name. She's asking how to convince the driver of the bus to have the vaccines. So everybody would like to know what is HR advice. And that goes with salaries, that goes with ayuda. So how can HR do this now? So at this time, we will still continue our discussion on research-based HR or evidence-based HR. As leaders and HR must know what should be changed and what will be the extent of that change. And also, HR must know what does not work anymore and what should be done that it must work. And that this includes the surveys, this includes the communication or the mentoring program that you do. So that is actually the issue now. That still we are in this lockdown. And it's almost from a party to holo. Everybody is the work from home or our alternative working arrangement mode. So I invited somebody who is the head of the PMAP committee on the Center for Research and Publication. He is actually the a magna cum laude from UP and has been working around a lot of other industries. But right now, he is the HRBP of Canva Solutions Inc. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mark Joseph Cancino. Mark?
Hi, Sir Jesse, and a pleasant afternoon to everyone.
Yes, Mark. Yes, it's so nice that you are our guest for today. And I think you have heard my introduction. Okay. Are you working? Are you at home or are you in your office?
Yes, we're still working from home for the whole year, so Canva is generous enough to provide us that flexible work arrangement.
Yes. Okay. I mentioned earlier that this is the golden age of HR because everybody is actually looking up on us and banking on us. Now, as an HRBP in your company, what are the things that are usually sought of or they seek you? What are the things that they call you upon and the issues and concerns that they ask from you? Can you give us some samples, Mark?
Yes, you're right, Sir Jesse. And then I feel like HR now already has its well-deserved seat at the table, at the management table. So there's really, we really have a voice as HR when it comes to not only people decisions, but also business decisions. As HRBP, we're like the one-stop HR of our particular departments or specialties. And then people come to us not only about professional, but also personal concerns. As you may know, because of the pandemic, there's no clear boundary between personal and professional. So HR should be there to address both. So basically, we help the business achieve its strategies through people programs. I'd say that that's where we become consultants to our people in the business.
Yeah, right, Mark. But specifically, what are the things that are being asked now from HR? Usually.
Yeah. So for example, there will be strategies.
Yes.
Yep. From management, sir, like we usually get consulted with organizational changes and change management initiatives in general. So for example,
yes, si Mark naghang. Yes. Management usually seek the consult HR on the business continuity. But the point is, if the HR is not actually abreast with the strategies, you were not able to really be engaged during the strategic planning. So at this time, you're now being asked on change management. Usually, specifically, are we going to reduce people? Are we going to ask people to move around, to take additional work, or shall we let go of our outsourced employees, or shall we request them to stay, or shall we actually get outsourced employees? So these are the things, right? These are the things that management would like to consult on HR nowadays, especially now that, specifically now that we are still on the lockdown. Management would like to know who are those that you are going to report to work and who are those that will still be on the work from home arrangement. That simple question is actually a headache for a lot of HR. A lot of it. And there's a need of a lot of coordination, a lot of thinking of what particular jobs or function should go to the office or the ones that can still be done at home. So that is one. Direct is Mark back. I think there's some problem. Mark?
Yep.
Yes. So I continued with that, Mark. Yes. That management would usually ask us from the simple thing of who should report to work or to the office or you choose to stay at home. But the problem is if the HR is not engaged with the strategic planning, with the business continuity plan, and you are being asked on some decision and you cannot really give your 2 cents worth of advice. So, do you still have other things that management would like to know from HR?
Yep. In general, Sir Jesse, because of the pandemic, like people have to work from home, but business goals are still there. So we're being consulted on how, for example, to increase performance and productivity of employees despite the work from home arrangement. As we know, work from home, aside from its benefits, also provides a lot of challenges to the employees. And we're also being consulted by change management initiatives. For example, asking for other people to go to the office. How do we handle that? So, for example, some people would choose to resign because of several reasons. How do you also manage the engagement of the people who are still in the organization? So I think those are several concerns brought to us by management.
Spot on, Mark. Spot on, Mark. Yes. You know that question, that will be the topic on Thursday. Please attend that question, and why is it that some other people still live at this time that we are in the pandemic. But the other one is, yes, that the simple thing of trying to look into who will come to the office is actually a concern by HR nowadays. And then that one of how to keep performance, di ba? 100% performance. That, you know, Mark, this is a little chismis that I know. I know a lot of offices, not only in the private sector, but I know of some in the private, but usually in the government sector. Now that we are on the lockdown, you know the performance is down to 20%. They love it. They really love it that they're working from home and they have the reason not actually to be on top of anything. So it is so slow. So, you know, I can just imagine the gap between those in the front line, the frontliners, and those actually in some government agencies wherein they actually dilly-dally because they are working from home. So the problem is for HR to really keep them engaged and then keep them really support operation that the performance of the human resources or the employees are still at point. Right, Mark? Now, for employees, before we go to our topic, we have that started, Mark. You're so nice. You're so... Basta talaga UP at manya cum laude. Nako, ang lalim-lalim talaga, Mark. Okay, wonderful. Mark, from employees, what are the things that they usually ask from HR?
Yeah, actually, like what I mentioned a while ago, Sir Jesse, like now there's no clear boundary between personal and professional. So now the concern of mental health issues are really prevalent across organizations. So with all the changes happening, how do we continue to adapt to the new, for example, new processes and then new systems and then the targets that we still have to do? So sometimes not only employees, but also their managers come to me like, how do we keep these employees engaged despite the pandemic? So this, for example, this employee is having a mental health issue. How do we handle this? This employee has poor performance, which we didn't see in previous for example, previous quarters. So how do we handle this? I think those are the major concerns that employees come to me for advice.
Yes, Mark. Right. Right. So the problem is if the HR person is not actually adept with, say, mentoring, advising, counseling, competency, or maybe at the time that they were having their program, the HR was just after what food to do. She was not actually keen to learn how to do it. And then the second one, right? The personal thing is HR must be able to really have that balanced or well-integrated life. Because I know, Mark, how can you give something if you don't have it also?
Agree.
Di ba, Mark? Good, di ba? Di ba yung, I can feel that, of course, HR also have their problems, family, their subsistence, their careers, but also a lot of people are also calling them on the same problem. So talagang the HR must have what you call well-integrated life, a balanced life. Kaya nga sabi ko, Mark, take sa akin ng webinar on EQ and work-life integration. Kasi I do that. Anyway, so we go now. We started a little bit late. So we still have time. Can we now go into our topic? So with these issues and concerns, how can HR be evidence-based? Kasi hindi ka lang pwede magsalita wherein your opinion, or it's just opinionated, you're just basing it from fake news or ano. So what are the things that HR should do so that it is evidence-based?
Yeah, that's really critical. Yeah, that's really critical what you said, Sir Jesse, that now that HR is being a consultant, not only for people, but also business challenges, we need to also bank on data, bank on research, so that we can help our management to drive decisions. But I think it all starts, Sir Jesse, with the right mindset. Because some people, when you say data, when you say research, they would think that it's very technical, highfalutin, very academic. So before HR becomes that good consultant, we should create that culture of appreciation of data and research first. Because when we have that mindset that HR... Yes, talaga po, kailangan talaga mindset first.
I like you, right? Because it is just like appreciating mathematics or arithmetic or algebra. It is not that scary, just like with data. Kaya nga yan, Mark, nag-psychology or nag-behavioral kasi natakot ng figures at ng data. Ang mahirap nga, Mark, they take analytics courses. Pero they don't actually have data. So, spot on, Mark, we're going to share this. The first thing to do is the correct mindset that they should not be scared of data and appreciate data. And after that, what else? What is next, Mark?
Next is really looking for sources of data. So people usually would think that, oh, let's look for external data. But we should be aware that we have a wealth of internal data that we can use for people programs. So once we have that internal and external data, we should clean our data so that we can ensure that we have the right data, appropriate data for our analysis. And then, Sir Jesse, we also have quantitative and qualitative. So before you said na parang yung iba kaya nag-behavioral kasi takot sa numbers. But we can also use stories, narratives as qualitative data to support our programs as well.
Okay, si Jennifer nag-post dito, Mark, totally agree, HR decision needs to be data-driven. Jennifer Nuya. And then sabi din ni Jennifer Nuya, data doesn't lie unless your data is inaccurate from the first instance. Yeah, yes. Now, Mark, I'm sorry for this ignoramus question and basic question. What are these data that they should really have and appreciate? Sige, para tayo nag-lecture.
Yes. So para pong sa census, I think our employee database is a good source of data because from there, for example, in terms of talent acquisition, we can see saan ba nanggaling itong mga talents na meron tayo ngayon that's based on previous history or work experience. For example, now that we appreciate the purpose of diversity and inclusion, we can also see there, ano na nga ba yung ratio natin ng males, females. When it comes to succession planning, for example, we can look at the tenure and then job levels of employees. Alin ba dito yung mga ready na to move up? Alin dito yung kailangan ng extra support when it comes to performance, through coaching, through mentoring. So when it seems like data is so far away from you, but just look at the employee database, that will give you a lot of insights. And you're right, dapat po kailangan simula pa lang tama na yung pag-gather natin ng data. So this is what people or organizations actually miss, data privacy. So even at the start of employment, kahit wala pa po pala yan, kahit sourcing process pa lang, you should have that data policy or data privacy clause that you give out to candidates so that you know that the data will be accurate and that it's given willingly by the person.
Right. So, ang lahat naman nagsasabi, we have 201 files.
Yes.
Diba? Pero siguro, if they don't have the HRIS, kahit na lang i-transport into what we call Excel file. Tama ba ako, Mark?
Digital po. Yes po.
So that they can actually get it anytime that they would like to have data. Okay. Now, I have a question for you. How about if the issues are we going to be vaccinated, or what is your opinion? Is it okay that I should have a vaccine or not? Saan siya kukuha ng data?
Yep. HR can partner with the communications group and, for example, the PR function of the organization. So what you can do is actually to drive information to all your employees, because as we all know now, there are a lot of fake news. So as HR, how we can help address that? So we can release communications around what vaccines do we have, when is it safe to have vaccines, and again, instill that mindset that vaccines actually work. But before we get into that acceptance of vaccine, we need to provide, of course, stories of successes. We also have to provide data, ano ba yung mga available vaccines that we have, ano yung mga possible implications. So I think we can start with that, really communicating with them about vaccine.
So what you're telling us, that means na magre-research talaga ang HR.
Yes, kailangan po talaga. And dapat HR mismo, credible po tayo dapat. Authority tayo ng data. So hindi pwedeng kung saan-saan lang kumukuha.
Right. Yun. That is actually the point of this episode. Because everybody is actually looking at us that ikayo yung may credibility, yung sinasabi nga ni Ulrich na active, ano ba yun, yung credible activist, di ba? Credible ka, and then you really is an action person. Right. Okay. So what are the tools that should be used ngayon, Mark? Okay, I will start. So, the simplest thing is mag-Google. Di ba mag-Google? Di ba, Mark? What do you call that? Ano ang research na nag-Google?
It's para pong nagsosource ka ng data. So even if you look at Google, you should still check the source of or the reference material of the reading that you're actually referencing. Para po sure tayo na kahit nasa Google siya, alam natin na credible talaga yung sources natin.
Right. You're so good, Marky, di ba? Kasi balay mo naman, fake news yung nakuha eh. There are a lot of information that we receive in our social media. So the HR must be able to really discern and must be able to ano ba katawag nun? Fact check? Is that the right term, Mark? Fact check. That the information that you're getting is the right information for questions that we get from our human resources. Right. What other tools should we use, Mark, for other HR programs? Can you give us some tools?
We can also check at the studies and white papers published by credible organizations. For example, PIMA publishes articles. We also have international organizations such as McKinsey, Gallup, Harvard Business Review. So there are a lot of sources as long as they're credible. And I think, Sir Jesse, to answer your question, we can look at different facets of HR. For example, for talent acquisition, we can look at talent mapping. Like, saan ba dapat nanggagaling yung mga talents natin that get through or pass the application process? So when it comes, for example, performance management, kunwari may performance concerns, we should look at the historical data of performance. For example, in the previous years, ano ba yung performance ng tao na to? Because as HR professionals, we should look at the historical data as well. So baka naman performing lahat ng tao, tapos during the pandemic, bumaba yung performance. Maybe it's not really attributed to the person, but to the external factors. So we should look at that data po. And then, for example, engagement, we also have a lot of engagement surveys that can test how engaged our people are, and then we can craft action plans from there.
Okay. I am interested in what you mentioned on performance. Say somebody was really good before the pandemic and now that is becoming a problem because he's not anymore engaged. So, what is your suggestion? What should HR do to really first, na evidence-based, na sabi mo nga, outside factor. Anong dapat gawin niya? Kasi, malay mo naman, tumawag. Wrong siguro yon. Tawagan kagad kita. Hello, Mark, bakit may yan? Dati ka naman nagtatrabaho, bakit ngayon hindi? So, is that good or bad, Mark?
Yep. First of all, we should consider a lot of sources of data. For example, pag may employee na ganyan, again, look at the historical data. Kung performing naman before, ibig sabihin, the person is really competent. So you may also ask the manager of the employee, kamusta ba? Ano ba nangyaring changes sa taong to? And then after that, you may also talk to employee once the employee trusts you na parang, how are you? Have a check-in, parang what are your potential challenges? Anong blockers? And then from there, makakakuha ka na parang 360 feedback, kumbaga, Sir Jesse. Parang look at the manager, employee, and then pwedeng tanungin din yung peers.
Ang galing, Mark. So I think what you need to do is not actually resort to surveys wherein they fill up things and sometimes they just fill it up and then at the back they're actually talking against it. Siguro ang pinakabaganda is 360, first talk with the bosses and then talk with the person and then maybe siguro FGD and then try to know. So it's constant, but I think there should be an effort, a planned intervention to really look into that. Parang wag muna maging judgmental na parang si Mark is not actually performing well, so I think he's affected, so it's not good. No. So I think the research or the evidence-based intervention that HR should do is to look, confirm, affirm the cause, diba? And then after that, look into the solution siguro. Yeah. What I am gathering from you, Mark, is not actually jump into the solution, but look into what is the cause muna. Diba? Yes. And that is actually research. Right. And alam mo, that should really be done. And ano dapat ang mauna natin? The leaders o yung rank and file? Kasi yan ang problema.
Pwede po siyang sabay na gawin. So parang for example, marami kayo sa HR group, you can do that. But what organizations usually do is start at the top first kasi po yung top yung nagsiset ng parang atmosphere and then ng tone, sabi nga nila, the tone from the top. So we should be aware as well of how our leaders are experiencing or are adapting, for example, to the changes that we have. And dugtungan ko lang sinabi mo, Sir Jesse, kanina, no? So before judging, even before that, you should have the right research question first. So dapat walang bias yung question mo. For example, your question shouldn't be, parang, why is this parang what can we do to make this employee perform? Dapat ang question po muna natin dito ay, what are the factors that affect the performance of this person? So para po open yung question natin for that. Wala munang bias, wala munang judgment.
Oh, ayan na. We're going to share this letter on lahat na HR na kinig kayo kay Mark. So kasi that is actually a problem now, Mark. So the question is, what are the factors that are actually affecting before we just say, talagang tamad yan eh. Di ba gaya nung kanina, di ba sinabi ko kaninang chismis, only 20%. So I was already judging. Maybe we could ask first, what are the reasons? And I stand corrected. And the factors maybe marked will be connectivity. And then the availability of the sources of what they're going to work. Yung kahit na lang papel, lapis, di ba? Di ba? Kasi di ba we are used to be mga abusado tayo that we're in the office, the paper is there, the eraser is there, everything. And now you're working at home and then you try to write. Would you believe, Mark, that even here in the house, I don't have a matinong papel, lahat notebooks. So when I write my speeches, I have to look for a paper, di ba? Or mayroon naman akong coupon band, pero short, walang long. So those little things, and siguro HR must be able to look into that. Ang dami ritong sinasabi si Jennifer. Sabi niya, agree with Mark. Can we spot on Jennifer? Regular HR touch points are important in ensuring that potential problems are caught and addressed before they become bigger. Right? And everybody must do that. Mark, okay. Huwag ka mawali, Diyos ko ang iyong connectivity. Nagtanong ako sa'yo about leaders and rank and file. Kasi I know you are taking your master's in UP. Yeah. And this is actually coaching. Now, alam ko ayaw mo ako magtanong sa'yo nito, pero itatanong kita. I think this is the right time that HR must be able to launch a program on coaching. Am I right, Mark?
Yes, it actually boils down to our history as well. Kasi po before, di ba, during the Industrial Revolution, very mechanical talaga, parang robots. So the type of leadership back then was command and control. However, as we transition to knowledge workers, that type of leadership no longer works. So ngayon po talaga, instead of command and control, we're moving into the coaching style of leadership, which is, again, like what you said, the topic of my thesis. And the more complicated one is that some organizations po ngayon, meron na talaga silang coaching programs. But I think the pandemic really disrupted HR, including coaching. That's why my study now is, how do you measure remote managerial coaching competency? Because I feel like traditional coaching might be different from remote coaching, especially because flexible work arrangement is there to go.
Mark, basic muna. There is a big difference between coaching and mentoring. At yan ang problema ngayon. Kasi people are expecting leaders to coach, pero yung gusto pa lang nila is to mentor. Ay, Diyos me, Mark, dapat magturo ka talaga. You'll come back here and then delineate that. Your study is on coaching, not on mentoring.
Yes,
diba?
That's right. Apo.
Now, at this point that the performances of people are really low, sana na, kahit na yung dito sila direct nakikinig yan, ano ang kailangan? Coaching or mentoring? Oh, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yes. So, usually po, when it comes to work-related, for example, you want the person to do this job well, that's coaching. Because it requires like you sharing your technical expertise as well to that person. Because mentorship is usually defined as something that goes beyond professional but is also personal. Parang mas lifelong po siya. But for coaching po kasi it's more of, for example, I'm coaching you to achieve this goal. So that can also happen. And marami pong type, to complicate it even more, marami pong types of coaching. We have executive coaching, strategy coaching, managerial coaching. So even that shall be identified well by the organization before they develop their coaching programs.
Right. So both are essential. Just like the lugaw and the bilignit are all essential. But HR and then the organization must be able to know first what are actually needed now. Now, again, it's HR concern na dapat at this time, alam na kung ano ang kailangan, di ba Mark?
Yes po, doon po talaga nagsisimula kasi other people, di ba, before po may notion na pag may hindi nag-work sa organization, training agad yan. Well, that's not the case. Training isn't the parang solution to everything, isn't always there.
Okay, Mark, before we have a break.
For example, kailangan po, gaya ng sinabi niyo, Sir Jesse, minsan ang challenge actually is hindi lang pala siya equipped para gumamit ng digital tools. For example, kasi sanay siya sa traditional. So baka naman hindi talaga full-blown coaching yung kailangan. Baka kailangan lang turuan yung tao paano gumamit ng mga platforms. So depende po talaga sa problem. Kailangan, dun pa lang maayos po yung diagnosis natin. Kaya meron tayong mga organization.
Nako, ang galing yan sabihin, Mark, but just imagine if you have 200, 500, 1,000 empleyado. So, isa-select mo lang siguro yung potential employees,
yes.
Di ba? Mark, before we have the break, and then after that, we discuss about the research, Center for Research. May question ako. So, nandito na tayo sa coaching and mentoring, and let's go back to evidence-based. Paano mo ma-connect na yung evidence or research-based dito sa coaching and mentoring program natin?
Makikita po natin for engagement surveys and other types of surveys kung saan dapat tayo mag-focus when it comes to coaching. For example, pag nakita natin that mababa yung scores engagement survey when it comes to growth and development, so there's a need to direct your coaching to that. So for example, may challenge sila sa work-life balance. So maybe the
nag-hand si Mark. Yeah, what he was mentioning is about work-life balance. Yes. So, dapat yun. Siguro, direct, we can have our break. And then, after that, siguro, okay na si Mark after a while. Can we have the break, direct? Wonderful past President Obet is here. And then Jennifer Nuya mentioned that it might be helpful to include a one-on-one weekly coaching in its manager's KPI. Yeah, it should be a must. It has to be already part of your key performance indicators that there should be a one-on-one coaching. Kasi nobody should be left behind. And that there should be actually reaching out. Is Mark back, direct, so that we can continue? Mark, are you back? I hope Mark's connectivity is okay. And that can be one of the reasons, diba, before you judge that a person's performance is not that good because his connectivity is also a problem. You know, even here in this area, I am with Converge. That's why I am now in my living room. In my bedroom, it is what do you call this, Globatome. But you know, this morning I got an info that PLDT would like to upgrade what you know, I told yes, it has to be. Technology and connectivity is actually very, very important now. It's essential. Okay, can we have Mark? Mark, can we have you back? I hope his connectivity is okay. You know, I like this humble and competent young HR members of PMUP, wherein they're so young, but also they're full of experience and they can really share what they have. I'm sorry if my dogs are a little bit agitated because there is somebody at the library outside. Okay, can we have Mark? Can we have Mark? Anyways, let me continue. Yes, you know, it's really important that all HR now must be evidence-based and must do double time in doing research. The data that we have must be appreciated, and that in all our communication, in all our engagement, we need to be credible, and that credibility is that we are evidence or research based, and that one way that we can actually do it, implement or conduct the engagement or improve performance. Kasi di ba naman, what will you do if you all have this data and you are full of information, is to actually communicate it, and that the best way is through coaching and mentoring. So there is a need for a program in each of the organizations, kasi hindi naman maganda na everything rests on the HR, which I actually am aware of now. A lot of my students, I read it from our group chats. Para bang karga ko ang mundo, pasan ko ang mundo. I think what HR should do is actually not share but involve other people. Let other leaders be engaged. So you can do it through your coaching and mentoring program. And yun nga, you have to collaborate, coordinate with the communication team or person in the company, and then be able to share what you need to do. Parang the example is, everybody would like to ask if we're going to have the vaccine or not. It's not only you should be able to answer that, especially if you're 500. You can have a meeting with all the leaders or champions, and then try to disseminate and then convince people, influence people on the advantages and disadvantages of having vaccines. Because that is actually the problem that I receive. The other one will be on, say, salaries, on what they call this, rotations, on assignments. That has to be also research and evidence-based, and you share it also. It should not only be HR's concern na parang pasan mo na ang mundo. Have a committee, collaborate with the leaders, with your operations supervisors and managers, and come up with a plan. Okay. Is Mark back? Is Mark back? Wala pa siya? Anyway, can we have the slides that he gave us earlier, direct, so that we can present it? Direct, can we have the slides, the center? I will be the one to do it. Yes, this is actually the slide that Mark sent. It's actually on a PMAP's initiative on research. Can we have the second slide, please? Yes. So see, it just is telling us that there is a need for the research, an importance of research. But you know the what Mark mentioned, as leaders and as an HR practitioner, we must have that mindset, that appreciation, that and everything that we do, the processes that we do, it has to be evidence-based, and we have to undergo research. And it goes into the full gamut of the life of an employee, the employee experience. So everything that happens to an employee, that has fully to be documented and researched upon. Can we go to the next slide, please? So we have the Center for Research and Publications in the People Management Association of the Philippines. Next, please. Yes, above and beyond, regenerate people and business through research. That is really true. You know, I just did essentials in HR. You're still doing personal management if you are not actually evidence-based. You must have your 201 files, transport it into Excel files, or you must have an HRIS, and make sure all your decision in for the person or for the human resources must be researched. Okay, now can we have the next slide, please? So for 2014 and 2020, we have benchmark surveys, pulse surveys, position papers, capacity building, stakeholder forum, publications, and of course funding. And for 2021 and 2022, I think these are the initiative that the Center for Research and Publication of PMAP will do is contextualization, discussion, connection, collaboration, communication, appreciation, and recognition. Mark, I'm doing this for you. Can you come in now? Mark, can you go into share this slide? I took the liberty, Mark. Mark, please continue.
Thank you so much. Really sorry for that. Yeah. So, thanks, Sir Jesse. Yep. The point of this is basically before we used to have a lot of major projects, but for this year we want to dig down into the roots of para saan nga ba research? What are the research gaps that we have? Next slide, please. There. And then for the research committee, we have the following pillars. Discover where we can still support and bridge the gap. Next, to engage you through our different programs such as research conference and hackathon, and then educate through our learning sessions. And lastly, for this year, we will publish a salary and benefits survey for all of you. So let's look at the others. So for the Discover pillar, we have conducted focus group discussions with...
Mark, let me interrupt you. When I was president, the first salary survey was done.
Yes, sure.
So this is the second time. Wow, this is very good for PMAP members and for everybody. Yes, nice. Yes.
Thank you, Sir Jesse. Next slide, please. So for the Discover pillar, so we have conducted focus group discussions. So we were able to talk to 18 PMAP chapters through their officers. So we looked at their best practices, their challenges during the pandemic, what they think the future of job is. So we will release a white paper on this in May. And then for the next pillar, for the age pillar, finally, PP Jesse, we will have the first undergraduate students, graduate students, and also to professionals. That's on the next slide. And then, so there, we will open the submission of abstracts, and then the deadline will be on May 7th. And then for this, we will have paper competitions. For the undergraduate winner, that person will receive 10,000, 15,000 for graduate, and then 20,000 for professional. So if you have any studies, hindi po kailangan academic, pwede best practice, documented best practice in your company on talent acquisition, talent development, employee engagement, total rewards, and organizational development and culture, feel free to submit your abstract to us. And then next slide, to engage, again, we will conduct not only the People Management Research Conference, but also the first People Management Hackathon. So we're open to partners. We will ask our partner companies on their business challenges. And then after that, we will have participants pitch in their solutions. So if you're interested to provide solutions to people in business challenges, join the first People Management Hackathon, and the winner will receive an incentive of 50,000 pesos. And then next slide, for our learning sessions. For our learning sessions, we will talk about data across different HR functions. So kung interested kayo sa data-driven HR, meron po ang research committee niyan. So on April 24, we will talk about how to do workforce planning and talent mapping. On May 15, we will talk about using data in employer branding. After that, increasing professional brand through data analytics. And then August 14, we'll talk in data analytics, and then diversity and inclusion on October 11. And then, Sir Jesse,
yes,
we have a promo, so they just need to register to the 5 sessions, and they can attend one for free. And then for the last one, this is the salary and benefits survey. So we will launch it in December.
Wow. Mark, so thank you very much.
So yun po yung mga projects na center for you.
So for all the PMAP members, and for even though you are not a PMAP member, be engaged with what the Center for Research and Publication, because this is for us. This is for us. And actually, these are for the small and medium enterprises, wherein you can really get something from the initiative that is being done by the PMAP Center for Research and Publication. Mark, so thank you with that. Mark, can we go back to what we were discussing earlier? There is a comment here from Charisse. Charisse is a friend of mine, a member of the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers. Anxiety and depression should be addressed too in this trying time. So what can you say about that? So this is trying to connect our mentoring, coaching, and then research base. How can you, what are your thoughts on this? Mark? Medyo maano yung connectivity ni Mark. The comment of Charisse is about anxiety, and of course, depression should also be included in our interventions, in our effort. One, it has to be research-based also, Charisse. It has to be evidence-based. One is, we really have to what do you call this, have a not actually factual, but a professional diagnosis if the person is actually having some anxiety or depression situation or moments. Because a lot of people will disclaim that I am not feeling well and I am depressed. So I think what HR should do is really seek advice from a professional person and do some intervention. But we can start with communication, with trying to talk with individuals. But if you really would like to measure or look into the mental health of your... Yes, Mark is back. So I am just telling them, Mark, that it's so easy for employees to claim that we are having some anxiety or depression situations, but it has to be evidence-based. What are your thoughts on this, Mark?
Yes. First, it also starts with proper education, Sir Jesse, so that we should have mental health learning sessions so that people don't self-diagnose. Because it's very important that before you say, I'm depressed, I have anxiety, you know what those words actually mean. And then from there, HR can support. So if you are not a psychiatrist, don't also diagnose. It's better to just provide awareness and then direct them to the right persons.
Right. So it has to be research based, and it has to be, we have to seek professional help. But you're right, Mark. This is coming from Jennifer and Therese, that President Jesse has summarized the whole communication and rollout plan of change management effort. Truly an expert. Thank you, Jennifer. But what I'm concerned, Therese and Jennifer, is a lot of people now will claim that I am not feeling well, and maybe I am actually affected by the lockdown and by the pandemic. Yes, of course, we have to have emphatic listening, di ba, Mark? But as suggested by Mark, we have to seek somebody as advice, professional help, and really must come up with a planned intervention. Kasi mahirap naman na magkaroon na, ano nga yung tawag dun, Mark, yung, di ba, I've seen this in the social media, yung bata na parang nag-umpisa na lang nagtitiwarik, and then that is just influence at na ano lang siya, suggestion, nag-suggest lang siya eh.
Yes.
Yung parang ngayon yung tatawag ka, nadidepress nga ako kasi hindi ko na nakakakain ng Jollibee. Tapos yung taong yung nakakain ng Jollibee, o nga, depressed din ako. So tatlo na yung nadidepress, Mark. Ano dapat gawin? Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? So ano dapat gawin?
So dapat po pag ganon, kausapin po yung tao. I'm not an expert. I just parang attended sessions on mental health concerns. What we can do is to really help the person uncover triggers. So kapag po malalim na yung pinanggagalingan, so kailangan na po natin i-refer talaga sa expert. So sometimes those people need someone to talk to or someone who will listen to their stories para po hindi tayo mag-diagnose. So it's really more of understanding them better.
So I think the best way for HR to do, if there are really concerns now, is to collaborate with a facility. Collaborate with a facility who has that competence of listening to people who are in that situation. Tama ba ako, Mark? I know of one. This is actually the Academy of Hope in Cabuyao. They are actually owned by my friends, the Gonzaleses. It's an Algon place in Cabuyao, wherein they have a 24-hour hotline wherein people can call and then they're given that chance. Pero siguro tayo, Mark, what we can do is listen to our people.
Listen to understand po. Kasi minsan we listen to respond. Dapat we're there to just truly listen, empathetic listening po.
But this has to be evidence and research-based also kasi ang topic natin. So hindi ka dapat mag-diagnose at maging judgment. Thank you, Therese and Jennifer, for mentioning that. But that should be included. Okay. Now Mark, before na nawala ka, so before you give your parting message, gusto ko lang ma-connect yung how can you make your mentoring and coaching na talagang evidence-based. Kasi usually, sometimes, yung nagme-mentor at nagko-coach are just basing it from their own personal experiences. What are your thoughts on this? So that we can...
First, really establishing the business case for it. What is really the need that you have to address with coaching and mentoring? And then to ensure that coaching and mentoring are indeed the right interventions for that. So once that's built, what we can do is start from the coaches and mentors first. Kasi dapat po, like what you said, equip mismo sila. Para yung mga tao, alam nila what coaching and mentoring really mean. So dapat po mag-provide tayo ng workshops and training sessions on them on how to coach and mentor. And then mga good sources of data po would be engagement surveys and then mga one-on-one sessions po na kinonduct natin sa employee. So yung mga notes sa one-on-one sessions will help us better craft our coaching and mentoring programs.
Right. So what you're telling us, Mark, is that before you going to any program, dapat mag-trainers training muna. Mentors training or coaches training. So they really have to catch up. Kasi dapat equipped na. This should have been done pre-COVID, but we are now here and we are now experiencing it. So I think what they have to do, Mark, is really catch up, and it's the best time that we are on a lockdown. Dapat they have to call us so that we can do webinars for them. But this is the right time to do learning sessions for our leaders. Tama ba ako, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah. Kasi matagal pa ito eh. Hindi ito tawag ng yung para bang you're just trying to solve the problem. What is the term, Mark? Yung trying to thank you. Yung reactive ka lang. So, since it is already happening, then you have to, getting it from you, we have to really start from what is right. The HR should look into the need, mag-research talaga siya, and then, as quickly as they can, come up with learning sessions for the leaders, for the mentors, or for the coaches. Ang mahirap nga niyan, Mark, di ba kasi yan yung thesis mo, even yung coaching, hindi naman alam ng mga supervisor. This is my input sa'yo. Kasi Mark, I am doing twice na. I am doing actually in many batches yung basic supervisory program. Yeah. And one of those competencies, di ba? Delegation, decision making. These are the basic competencies. And then the last one is actually coaching. Hindi alam, Mark, ang coaching.
I agree. Apo.
Alam mo, hindi ako nagpa-promote sarili sa akin. Nako, if you are listening to me, call me. Kasi I will help your organization. Kasi yun lang, yung parang hindi alam yung the difference between training, yung nagturo, yung para ba dito sa bahay, yung malaking garden ko, Mark. Yung tuturuan ko yung katulong ko mag-plant, di ba? That is actually orientation, induction, or training. Pero yung coaching him, di ba, na while he is planting, hindi yung competency niyan, Mark, hindi alam ng ideas ko. So yan ang input ko sa mo. Input ko yan sa study mo.
Yes. Dapat po systemic siya. Sir, dapat naka-embed siya dun sa role ng people manager, that coaching is part of the people management role.
Ang mahirap nga, Mark, walang nagtuturo. Sino ang magtuturo?
Yes po. Dapat nga po mayroong mga experts on that.
May nagtuturo kung, just imagine nyo, I know what I am now a consultant and I did training, and sabi natin manufacturing or construction. So naglagay ng engineer, capable yan, competent yan. Pero yung pag-coach ng engineer sa lead man and the lead man to the worker, walang nagturo, Mark. Yan yung problema. Yan ang problema nakikita ko sa coaching.
Agree.
Okay, before your parting message, pag-chismisan tayo, Mark, I really like it. I really like it. Pareho tayong mga cum laude. Nagyabang. Alam mo, kahit na mentoring, alam mo, may oras, yung kung hindi properly trained yung mentors, ang what the mentors do, nagkikwento lang ng buhay nila.
At saka pag ganyan po ang problem po niya, nagiging negative yung tingin ng tao sa coaching. Kailangan po meron tayong buy-in ng tao sa coaching. So dapat po equip talaga yung mga mentors and coaches.
So I think this time, magkasabihin na, ano ba ito si Mark at si Jessie at pinag-uusapan, may pandemic. I think this is the most opportune time na dapat yung HR magturo nito itong week na ito. Itong week na ito.
May sense of urgency for that. Opo.
Yeah, I love that. I love that term, that sense of urgency. Kasi, ang tanong, chicken and egg, where will you start? How can you really start? Where will you start, di ba? That we are in a pandemic, we're in a lockdown, performance is going down, and a lot of problems, di ba? Siguro, the start is one is evidence-based, yung program, and then very agile, and then two is right now, turuan kagad, na trainer's training for those people that will be doing it. Right. So, Mark, thank you very much for, I will still invite you later on doon sa coaching, but every Thursdays and Saturdays, you join us kasi so that you can, it is through the chat box naman, through the chat box. Okay.
Sure,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Can you give us your parting message on the topic of evidence-based HR, and then you can even mention what you're doing now and on research before I give my concluding remarks. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Sir Jesse. So thanks again, everyone, for listening to us. So I really feel that now that we already have that well-respected seat at the table, it gives us more responsibility as well to be data-driven and to have research-based decisions. So before we can have that, we should ensure that we have the right mindset, that it's really useful in our organizations. Because when we have that mindset, it's easier for us to really drive it. And then we shouldn't be afraid of research. We should actually appreciate it more because data is all around us. So we just need to better handle, process, and then use data in our decisions. So we know that it's not an easy task, loving research, but that's why you have different avenues to learn. That's why the Team Up Center for Research and Publication is here to help you. So we have our learning sessions and other programs that will help you ensure that you have data-based and research-driven HR function.
Thank you very much, Mark. Before I do my parting message also, at the reckon we have my 3 slides. I would just like to invite them. I am going to do an enhancing EQ and AQ webinar with ECOP on April 13, 15, and 20. If you are interested, try to contact ECOP and then join us, or we can have it in your own organizations. And it is most needed now. I think this is essential. Aside from the trainer's training, for everybody, this is what Mark mentioned. Everybody should be aware. A module here is about mental health. But everybody should be aware first, and what is actually that situation that you're already having some problems. The other one is, I'm also doing, this is HR. Can we have that other slide, please, Direct? Yes, a certificate in human resource planning and acquisition. This will be in July, but this is most needed because I already changed a lot of what I'm going to share. This is more now on online and more now on distance human resource planning acquisition. I am focusing here is on the planning. Of course, I'm going to do what do you call this, the competency-based interviews and then selection, but I am more keen here on the planning, that it has to be related with the strategic plan. So if you are interested, join us here. This is now with PIMA. With PIMA. I changed my first 5 modules, and I'm actually considering already the present tense and what is that will happen in the future. Okay, and then the last one is, this is most needed also, implementing an effective succession planning and management program. Actually, you have to attend this because when you appreciate your interventions for the succession plan, you will realize that succession planning is actually an integration of talent management. You will realize what are the things that you are missing. So these are 3 important webinars that I would like to join, to attend. Okay, so thank you, Direct. So thank you very much, Mark, for joining us. Yes, the keyword for the Holy Week is essential. It is essential for HR to be research-based, evidence-based HR. As Dave Ulrich told us in the competencies for HR, the first one is credible activism. Credible activism means that whatever comes out in your mouth should be evidence-based. So people will believe in you. Then, as mentioned by Mark, the most difficult is to sustain the confidence from management. From the little things of whom we are going to assign to report or influence people of what vaccines to use, or trying to understand the strategic plan for the business continuity, or if you're going to reduce or going to hire outsourced people, or you're going to promote this guy at this time of the pandemic. As what Mark mentioned earlier, it has to be evidence-based. Naku, di ba Mark, ang pinakamahirap, nagkaroon kang desisyon na sumama yung loob tuloy ng tao. Hey, this is the worst time to really hurt people because you are not face-to-face. And so, in the later part of our discussion, Mark, because that is actually his study in UP, for us really to implement, conduct, do the intervention, one of which is through coaching and one of it is through mentoring. Diba? And again, balik tayo sa, it has to be research-based. Kasi similarly, people has to be convinced that what you're telling them are actually factual. They have to be convinced. At kasama na din yung nasabi ni Charisse at ni Jennifer, na-include natin yung mental health. So with all this is most important. Let us share this episode and let everybody actually have a moment, stop, be still, think, and after that, catch up and be agile. That what we need now is evidence-based HR. And there should be something that should happen right now. Yan po, ladies and gentlemen, what a lovely way to start the Easter. Diba? 40 days pang Easter, diba? Happy Easter po. And for all HR, we're all scared, be safe. And then, less of going out, make sure that you follow the protocols. But even then, we are still expected to continue our roles and contribute to the performance of our organizations. Make sure that it is evidence-based and make sure that everybody, including you, and all the leaders are equipped in doing your HR interventions. Salamat po. Ito po si Jessie Francis Rebustillo. Diyos mabalos po.